the start time would be at 8:20. I saw that you joined a little bit earlier, so I just want to make sure that you know that the time was
Yeah, yeah. I got off and then jumped back on.
okay.
Okay, let me go very quickly. Let me just jump to how much is there a cost and how much would the user be willing to spend on the project for Frontier Registry, or is it free and there's no charge?
So you're talking from the user perspective, correct? So like what's the user cost?
What would the user cost? And I'd also like to know what you're planning on charging.
So it's built on a freemium model. So a certain amount of data can be used freely every month. Then there's a subscription that kicks in. So that's if we're talking individual, then we're looking at right now we're looking at like $10.99 a month. That's going to be calibrated for people in the global south. So anybody that does have any kind of economic hardship, they can petition they can write a letter to a department that we'll have set up, saying this is my situation, and then they'll get a calibrated discount. Enterprise is a different. Our business model is actually mostly enterprise, so the enterprise business model is a licensing fee. And so if you're coming under a licensing fee, say you're at MIT, say best case scenario, you're a researcher there or at a government agency, then that government agency or that academic institution has paid their licensing fee. And then you would have, free access under their licensing fee. So it's a pretty standard freemium, basic monthly subscription to cover data, and then calibrated rates for anybody with economic hardship. And then there is a small fee for every transaction, but that comes down to the user. So when the user is saving their own data and their own intellectual property to their own wallet, then that's a transaction fee. And because we're using a layer 2, we're keeping that really, really minimal. So, 0.01%, 0.01 cent, or maximum 2 cents. So that's one of the reasons why we're not using Ethereum and we haven't built on Bitcoin to date. Things may change as those blockchains become more usable. But at this point, we're on a layer 2, and the transaction fees are really minimal. But again, that's not a platform fee. That's using the blockchain fee. So,
we're going to go quickly. Mikhail, I'm just going through the questions as fast as we can. Paige only has about now 15 minutes. And then you and I can get on. I'll do the next one and then we'll jump around to get the ones critical. How are you going to advertise or communicate this product to users?
yeah, no, actually, I have time to cover this. No problem. I was just late jumping on. I had to, ask to a later start time today because another meeting went over. So, but I'm happy to cover these questions. Can you repeat that question, please?
How will the product be advertised or communicated to potential users?
How will the product be amortized?
Advertised. How are
Oh,
people going to know about it?
advertised. Yeah. That's a go-to-market strategy that we're still we're still working on. We have a lot of scenarios. So far, what we've been doing is relying on strategic partnerships. So again, like this the UNESCO endorsement is huge. That gives us a ton of credibility. And then there's with the budget, there's all kinds of things that you can do. From newsletters to meetups to to groups. There are so many scenarios to follow. So it's I don't want to say it's a standard go to market, but I mean, kind of like check the usual boxes, kind of a thing. I would say the one innovation for the go to market, because that would come under advertising, is probably our just our grassroots outreach so far through all of the open science working groups that we've been participating in for the last 3 years. So that's not necessarily advertising, but it's definitely soft outreach.
Mikhail, if you wanted to jump in, just a couple, if the user had a problem, um, how would, what potential problems do you see the user encountering with the product?
Was that for me or was that for
That's for
Mikhail?
you. Then I'll let Mikhail jump in. I'm just, as you said at the beginning page, we need to go through it really quickly. So what
No,
problems?
actually, Roberta, I didn't say I wanted to go through it quickly. I said I'll say this again. I'm apologizing for being 20 minutes late to our meeting today, but I have time to go over this now. No problem.
Okay.
Yeah, no
Okay.
problem.
I do have a hard stop at 9. So what problems could the user encounter with the product? As you look at it, what problems are you thinking are possible?
Well, I mean, the problem with, well, as we've discussed before, I think that the biggest friction is having to onboard to blockchain in order to use that part of the tech stack. So that to me is the problem, using it. Now, once you have a digital wallet set up and you're comfortable, using your digital wallet and using that to log into the site, I don't really see a lot of problems with it. That's what we're building for right now and raising money for, to put more towards UX UI, is to make it really just a one click, just one click, and you save your data and you get your your certificate of registration. So yeah, so short answer, onboarding users who are not already blockchain users to using that technology. And I would compare it to people who haven't used AI yet. Their first interactions with AI are a little awkward. They're a little uncomfortable. But then once you kind of get, like any capacity building, there's a friction point, and then you get used to it.
Mikhail, did you have any ones that you wanted to jump in from our user requirements?
Um, I am I have the document pulled too. But I feel like it didn't matter who was asking the questions. But let's see. I want to stick to some of the more critical ones.
Yeah.
And we can skip some of that, like go to market stuff. And I think the last thing I would be more interested in. So I know that you said it's really formatted mostly for desktop specific use, even though people can use it on mobile, so like tablets and phone, but it's really, really supposed to be like for desktop use. What other limitations, like technology wise, do you have have you and your team uncovered for the platform? And I think that would be like the another like critical question that we had as we develop.
Well, something that I am personally been jumping deep into is actually like what they're calling more like manifested AI. So at this point, the most technology interaction now is through desktop or mobile. But I'm very deep into several voice AI communities. So personally, I'm very, very used to and very comfortable dealing with voice AI. So I would say that as things progress, and they're progressing very quickly, um, it won't be much farther in the future when we can just basically, use our phone or use the mic system on our computer and just ask the AI agent to, okay, what I need you to do is save this data set, pull this document from my Google Drive folder, save it onto Frontier Registry, make sure you do the transaction hash and send the transaction hash confirmation link to my email box. It's not going to be that much farther when we're able to do that. One of the things that's really interesting that's happening with blockchain right now is that blockchain and AI agents are finding a lot of synchronicity. Like they're able, there's a lot of work being done in this, so that as AI agents are more empowered, say, to use your credit card to book your reservation at the restaurant or pay for your Deliveroo or whatever, lunch, they're syncing it with the blockchain so that there's traceable transactions to that. So an AI agent can't just, go crazy with your credit card, right? So I do foresee that that's going to have, wonderful impact on a tool like this. I don't think it's that far off in the future, to be honest. I don't know if that answers your question or if I went off on another tangent. But that's something I'm actually very interested in. I did submit an SBIR grant proposal about, I don't know, 6 months ago along these lines. And if you do want to do any kind of a deep dive, just start searching for AI agents and blockchain, and you'll see all kinds of stuff. It's just exploding.
Okay. Yeah, I want to focus on like some of the limitations of the current state as you're ramping up for that go to market, especially as it relates to how people are accessing their wallets or accessing their research on the platform.
Yeah, I would say that the limitations right now are the limitations of how like the current state of the product. So I would say that the limitations aren't necessarily in the concept of the product, but in how we've been able to execute on it so far.
Mhm.
And so it's it's funky, as we've discussed, in several conversations. The current state of it is just a little clunky. So I would say the limitations right now are that a user is expected to have a blockchain wallet, be able to use that to save their data on chain, and then have the responsibility to then maintain their own data if they opt for that. As a platform, we will offer to maintain their data at a monthly cost, right? Or they can opt to maintain their own data. That may be interpreted as a limitation by some, and it may be interpreted as as a decentralized data expression of freedom for others. So I think it depends on the user.
Okay.
Does that make sense, or am I kind of circling around?
No, that makes sense. I can understand I can understand what you're getting at. So, with those limitations in mind, what are some like channels currently or that are planned for users to seek customer service? So, is it only going to be virtual, or is it a plan for specifically for AI agents? Like, what's kind of the understanding of how to help someone troubleshoot or get some customer service by using the platform?
Yeah. Yeah. Again, this is a forward-looking statement, right? Because we don't really have much set up in that so far. Unfortunately, I'm sure you probably noticed that. But the as part of the roadmap, it's, you know, number one, yes, to have like you know, a souped up chat bot. So not just a chat, not just a little chat bot thing, you know, that you see on almost every site now. You know, tap in if you need some help, and then and what's your problem, and here, let's troubleshoot, and go to these FAQs and you know, we want it to be you know, excuse me, we can provide that, but we want it to be also a little you know, a little friendlier, right? Just a little friendlier. So I would say, you know, one of the things I'd really like to do, because I like when I see this, is, you know, have a weekly, you know, ask me anything or support group. So if somebody is onboarding or having issues, they can, you know, join the weekly onboarding call. And it would be a group call. It wouldn't be a one-on-one. It'd be a group call so people could answer their questions and ask their questions, get them answered, and different time zones too, because we really want to be sensitive that this isn't just a global north thing. You know, we really want to be you know, be sensitive of the global south. Yeah, I had some really interesting conversations earlier this week with some African researchers. So really really interesting pain points that they're coming up with, and not surprising, but yeah. So a mixture of AI, but not losing the human touch. I think we all get lost when the human touch is you know, is set aside.
Okay. Okay, I think that those were our most critical. Is there anything else, Roberta, that we we have on our most critical list that we have not asked?
I don't think, not critical. You know, I guess we could just ask about branding. What are you thinking about branding for the product? And is it going to, right now it's with your other company, IoT? Are you thinking of independent branding? What's your vision?
Well, yeah, like if you go on the IoT logistics site, you can click on the top menu. It's Frontier DAP. So it's part of the company, but it's a separate page. If you look on my LinkedIn profile, I've kind of updated the branding a bit. I don't know that this is going to be the one that stays. I started using this branding, the Frontier Registry, a little bit, you know, more of an updated version about, I don't know, 3 months ago, and I only just changed it on LinkedIn. So I think I would say the branding, of course, is going to be distinct because it's a distinct tool. You know, yeah, I I would say that, you know, maybe the underlying question to this is, are we going to spin out the IP? And we're looking at that. It's going to depend on a lot of factors, but yeah, we're looking at that. So also, I'm giving such lengthy answers because I can send you guys the meeting notes, you know, from this, and also you can always take the video and then get the transcription, so you don't have to be, you don't have to, try to capture all this, right?
I got it. Did you have any other main things, Mikhail?
I think I'm all good. What say you, Roberta?
I think, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Well, this was helpful. We got a lot of our questions answered, and then, like I said, this is our like we mentioned last week. This will probably be our last meeting, and we'll send some final wrap up and wireframes, I believe. There's a one more deliverable that we will send over as our as the first part of our course wraps up.
Okay, yeah, sounds great. And if you want me to do that, I can. Do you know how to? Once the video is on YouTube, you can put it into a YouTube transcribe, service. Like they're free online, and then you can get the complete transcription of the video. So if you want me to do that for you guys, so you don't have to, try to refer to notes or something.
No, we usually take pretty good notes. So like either when Roberta's talking, I'll take notes and vice versa. So we're pretty we've got that
That's
covered.
good. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Thank
I
you.
wanted to share with you one thing that some of the African researchers were talking about. It was a great meeting earlier this week, and there's like a real talk about data exploitation. Like the new resource exploitation now is data, and a lot of them are really, it's like a real raw pain point, for a lot of these researchers, where people from outside will come into their institutions, kind of harvest or mine the data, and then make their own interpretations and not even like harken back to the origin of the data. And so when you hear researchers, PhDs, right, really talk about, the painfulness of this. It's not just intellectual property that's being taken. It's a possible misinterpretation of the raw data, right? It interpreted through a lens that has maybe no understanding or comprehension of where the data has actually originated from. And so I just want us to keep in mind that that's the origin purpose of Frontier Registry. Right? The origin purpose of Frontier Registry is to protect the provenance and the source of where data comes from, so that these kinds of so if people have different interpretations, okay, they have their interpretations, no problem, but you can trace it back to see if there's actually any relevance to the original point. If I can share any parts of that meeting in notes or something, I will try to, because it may help you guys inform kind of just a little bit of a broader perspective. But exploitation, like the new resource exploitation is data exploitation. And one more thing I wanted to share too. One of the ladies, she said, when people come in and they ask for data and they want data sets, and then they put themselves, they leave and they do their research output, or they do their interpretive works as the expert without referencing the original source of the data as the expert. She said, that's just, we need to really address this, because the person who originated any of the data or the data sets, that's the expert. They're the expert just by the very fact that they're the originator of the data. So these are things that, this was a research context. It was a large group of people, all researchers, all very invested in data ethics. So I just want to share with you guys what the conversations are, so you kind of get a little bit of a broader picture as to why are we doing this, what is this really about, how is this going to help. I don't know if that helps or not, but
It does. Yeah. Yeah. That's good. Okay. All right. We'll be back in touch. Mikhail, should we hop on the other line just to talk about how we want to submit notes for
yes.
this week?
Thank you so much, ladies. Again, apologies for being late today. It was one of those days. It's not out of any disrespect to either of you. I value greatly your time and your interest. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.